How you going today, guys? My name is Kilk and welcome to Inside the Mind of an Immortal. At any given moment, you could pull off the sickest hands flick or have the best game of your career, or you could feel like you're just trying to play with boxing gloves on. And I mean, how many of you have felt like that just from one game to the other? So how can you become more consistent? And what can you do when you're just not feeling it? So on that note, and without further ado, let's get into it. I want to start off with the idea of skill. It isn't just some sort of fixed value or thought, but rather it's more like a probability bell curve. So let's say you're a platinum player and you spend a lot of time doing aim training practice. Your overall skill bell curve could look something like this. However, when you break it down into what skill encompasses, aim, utility usage, effective comms, movement positioning, mental capacity, it might overall look something like this. At any single engagement or scenario, you could be at any point on this curve. However, depending on how you're feeling or playing, you can skew it to one side or the other, making it more likely to be around that area on average. However, across all your games, it will have a Gaussian distribution. I want you to consider this scenario. If you're being carried by your aim overall, on a good day, you're on, you're feeling it, your aim is as good as a Diamond Plus player, you're winning all your duels, and you're essentially just dominating the server. It doesn't really matter where the rest of your skill sets lie because you're winning every exchange anyway, regardless of utility usage or positioning. You win the game and you get match MVP. How good? And you queue up again, reminiscing about your domination last game. However, this new game feels a bit different. You miss a few shots early and you lose a few rounds in a row. It seems like every time you swing, you just get instantly headshotted as soon as they appear on your screen. Frustration builds as your aim just isn't where it was last game. Because you've neglected the other aspects of your game, when variance kicks in, it kicks you hard. You have nothing to fall back on, and from match MVP last game, you're now bottom frag this game. Now this situation might sound quite familiar to a lot of you, and a lot of people will say they just need to keep working on their aim. And while that's not entirely wrong, in situations like this, if anything, it's just going to make you more inconsistent. If you're pushing up your top end but neglecting your bottom end, that just creates a larger discrepancy between your skill sets and even more variance, and that just leads to an even more inconsistent player. So if you've only been working on your aim, maybe cut it back by say 70% and start focusing on other aspects of your game. Getting your skill sets to be a level closer together will make you a more consistent player in the long run. How can you expect to be a consistent player when your warm-ups or your practice sessions aren't even consistent? Maybe sometimes you'll go into the range and do some bot training, but then you get a bit bored, so you go practice your raised satchels for a little bit. Some days you don't do any practice, and some days you won't even warm up before you play. Having a set schedule for practice and playing if possible is a great way to ensure you're covering all aspects of your game, so you're improving at them all together and it's not all out of balance. For example, on Monday you do 30 minutes of aim training, followed by a VOD review. On Tuesday you play, after your set warm-up of course, and on Wednesday pick a map and walk around it for 10 minutes, clearing every single corner with perfect crosshair position, then another 10 minutes of practicing KO or sky flashes, your smoke placement speed, raised satchel combos or jet dash combos, followed by a 5-minute meditation. Build it around your schedule and what you know you need to improve on. But I guarantee you, if you expect to improve by randomly doing some medium bots here and there, and then just queuing up for competitive, and I've got some bad news for you, I'm afraid. Now that leads me into mental consistency. And I want to take sports as an example. With sports, you know when it's time to switch on and show up, because they're usually scheduled for set times. Saturday afternoon is time for golf, or Sunday morning is time for football. You're able to mentally start getting prepared for it beforehand. You always have a coffee or a shower before the game. You put on your uniform and do the exact same pre-game warm-up routine every time, which tells your brain that it's time to switch on and show up. There's a reason why so many athletes have superstitions or pre-game rituals, from simple things like listening to music to only wearing your lucky socks every time you play. You need to get your brain into the zone, known as the flow state to many. And that is where you'll perform at a consistently higher level. As true as the last topic was, inconsistent preparation breeds inconsistent performance. The inverse is also true. Consistent preparation breeds consistent performance, and that can be heavily utilized into our favor. I just want to quickly touch on expectations. Circling back to our scenario at the beginning, if you career at one game and then ride that expectation into future games, you're really only setting yourself up for tilt and frustration. Yes, it is possible for you to play like that. However, on average, it is unlikely for you to always play like that. Think of it this way, if that was constant, then that would be your norm and you would be at that respective skill level. In a nutshell, that kinda is what improvement is. Constantly working on your games so your good games become your norm, and then you just rinse and repeat. So even though you take all the right steps and do all your prep work, you're still gonna have off games and off days, and that's just the reality. So how do you take those games where you can't hit anything and turn them into potentially winning ones? Now that ties back into what I said at the beginning. When one part of your game falters, the rest of your skills are there to hold you up. Because you've put in the time and effort into the other aspects of your game, if you can still support your team with your utility and great callouts, taking space and denying information, not going on tilt because you whiffed an easy shot and constantly hyping up your team, then enable and allow them to carry you to that dub. Because I don't know about you, but personally I'd rather bottom frag and win than top frag and lose. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you'd like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing. Also, I've started streaming on Twitch, so come check me out there. Until next time, see ya!